Lopes fans, welcome in. My name is Brennan Williams, and this is Go Lopes Radio. This is a rapid reaction to GCU's big win over UNLV. They bounced back after Saturday's loss to Wyoming and after UNLV took care of the Lopes up in Vegas. A really big win for the Lopes. They get it done 82-67. Guys, today we're going to go through the game, quick game recap, check on the box score, talk some takeaways from the game, and then we are going to preview Saturday's really big matchup in Logan against the Utah State Aggies. And guys, don't look now, but Utah State gets blown out in San Diego against the Aztecs. So Saturday is going to be a really big one, especially if GCU really wants to try to find a way to get themselves into that top four. But guys, let's get into it. Let's talk UNLV GCU because GCU comes out and throws a really great punch. They go up 12-0. We've seen this a few times from this group, and I thought it was very necessary. We mentioned just, the disappointment that came with Saturday's game against Wyoming. And they just kind of came out ready to go. Now, part of that, listen, UNLV missed some layups. That was kind of the story of their day. But I also thought GCU had something to do with that, kind of early on there, contesting at the rim, making life really hard. And so credit to the Lopes for the start. They get it into half 42-24, really in control of the whole game. Now, the storyline was that Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, who obviously played really good in that first game, was going off. Like he was getting his shots. He was making them, did a really incredible job. The problem was just that nobody else on UNLV showed up. Tyron Jones got going a little bit there at the end of the half, but they held UNLV to 7 of 28 from the field in that first half, guys. And I think they made maybe 2 of their last 4. And so at one point, GCU really had them kind of in the torture chamber there for a full half, and UNLV was really struggling. Credit to GCU. I said, again, UNLV, they missed some bunnies. They had some open threes. They just might not have, the personnel to kind of make some of those shots, but I thought GCU did have a big impact on that. So credit to them for showing up in that first half. And the second half, UNLV does win at 43-38. And yeah, guys, it was kind of like that Wyoming game, the first one at Wyoming, where GCU takes control of the game. Everything looks good. The second half probably leaves you with a little bit more to desire. It was an okay second half. Now, guys, we don't need to get super kind of finicky here. GCU gets the win. They hold on. Yes, it got to 6 at one point in the second half, but I just thought GCU, listen, they handled business. And that second half, they stalled at different moments offensively. And UNLV got going just a little bit there in that second half. They shot a lot better, 16 of 29 from the field for UNLV. So a little bit of a drastic difference. And then obviously Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn was kind of the big storyline, as he was almost single-handedly trying to will this UNLV team to an upset. But guys, GCU gets it done. Like I said, cut to 6 with, I think, 3 minutes left on a Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn 3, and then Brian Moore Jr. just answered with a quick layup. And so that kind of killed some of that momentum. And GCU gets it done, 82-67. Let's go through our box score here. We'll go UNLV first because we got to talk Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. He ends up 10 of 20 from the field, 6 of 11 from 3, 30 points. He was incredible. He was making everything he was taking. I think the thing to him that's really awesome is he didn't force anything really. He maybe had 1 or 2 shots, but he's so patient, isn't going to just get up a shot to get up a shot. He takes his time and gets to the spot he wants. He was really impressive. Tyron Jones flashed quite a bit. You can see the raw potential with him, and he was, I just thought, really impressive. Flawed at times. Obviously, people are going to point to the 3 for 11 from the free throw line. That just killed him. Bottom line, those were really tough momentum sort of free throws he missed. But you can see where, the talent is with him. He's a really good player. He's a true freshman as well. That's one thing to keep in mind. He was pretty good. Kamani Hamilton, we'll talk about him later. He struggles. He goes 1 for 8 from the field, 4 for 8 from the line. And then I think only other person to mention, guys, is Howie Fleming. He's kind of their do everything guy. And he finishes with 14 points and 6 boards and 3 assists. So he had a triple double, I believe, last time out. So he's a really good player, but I thought GCU just did a good job defensively, kind of made life really tough for UNLV. And then we flip over to the GCU side. Jaden Henley was really special, 28 points on 9 of 14 from the field, 3 for 3 from 3. That's a welcome sight to see Jaden Henley making some from deep. Double-double for him. Nana goes to in and out as well. He has 11 and 11. Only took 6 shots, so pretty efficient there. 2 of 4 from 3. Brian Moore Jr., Mekhi Williams, they combined to go 9 of 14 from the field. So they were also, it was just one of those days where GCU's backcourt was really good. That was one of the storylines coming out of UNLV was UNLV's backcourt outplaying GCU's backcourt. And I thought they kind of answered the bell. We saw a few Evan minutes we're going to talk about later. Dennis made an impact. So, yeah, just an overall, I think a really good bounce back night for GCU, one they really needed. Again, after Saturday, and then obviously they had to get UNLV back. Like that was a really big game. If GCU, somehow were to drop that, the standings goes into complete chaos, especially when you consider the tiebreaker. So GCU handles business, and yeah, they needed it at kind of the most important time of the season. They've got 3 games left here now in conference play to try to find a way. Listen, they just got to handle what's in front of them. There's a lot of chaos that can happen in these last 3 games with teams playing each other above them. So things can happen, but GCU gets it done. They get the big win over UNLV, 80-67. Let's go into our takeaways. First, I mentioned it a few times, guys. We're going to just start calling this Nana Jail. That's what it is. Players go to Nana Jail, and we've seen a long list of customers visit, right? First, it's, Javon Buchanan for Boise. He's visited twice, both games, having real no impact on the game. Both games, he got it going a little bit late, but for the most part, just takes him out of the game, right? Then you've got kind of the most, I forgot about, I was going to go straight to Guaf, but we got to talk about Templin and game 1 against GCU at GCU Arena. Templin was kind of the same thing. For 36 minutes, he was completely shut out of the game. Really good front court player for Utah State, who we're going to see this weekend. Nana just kind of takes him out of the game. And then you've got Magoon Guaf the other night. San Diego State looked very uncomfortable. He was in Nana Jail. And then tonight's victim, Kamani Hamilton. He's a really good player, guys. Me and Blake talked about him preseason. Just potential for Newcomer of the Year award. He's a twitchy forward, kind of, I don't know, doesn't really have a position. And, he's kind of unfortunately just one of those guys with his size and how he plays and everything where he's just going to end up being guarded by Nana. And he was 1 for 5, 4 for 8 from the line. He was in foul trouble. He eventually fouled out. Like he was just in Nana Jail all night. We've seen this time and time again throughout the season. Nana just taking a guy out at his position and kind of taking him off the floor. And it happened again. And I think you're going to start kind of sizing up matchups for this Mountain West Conference tournament. And that's one thing to factor in here is, do they have a forward front court player that Nana matches up really well against? We've seen a long list of guys already, and Nana's been able to take them out of the game. It's a massive advantage for GCU to be able to just take a front court player out. So credit to Nana. Again, he just continues to do this night in and night out. Obviously, the offense got going a little bit tonight, which was nice. He struggled Saturday, but 11 points, 11 boards. And yeah, he's just a major factor tonight, 2 of 4 from 3. And it was a really impressive game from him. And then, the offense, I mentioned it in my article, but I thought this was just a really good bounce back opportunity for GCU. The offense was really bad at UNLV, like really, really bad. One of the worst of all season that they've had. And they bounced back tonight. I don't think UNLV just has the personnel for it. Pastner talked about it post game. This is probably the worst defensive team he's ever had. They're a good kind of raw team. You can see what UNLV could be next year if they're able to keep some of those guys. But the bottom line is they're just not that skilled on that end. And I thought GCU could bounce back in a big way, make some shots, see the ball go in, get some momentum, especially as they look for Saturday. And all the guards did that. I mean, GCU shoots 25 of 47 from the field, 7 of 15 from 3. Nearly everybody shot 50% that really played. And so just a real bounce back day offensively. Again, everything changes when they make some threes. Jaden goes 3 for 3. Are we going to maybe see that a ton the rest of the season? I don't know, but if guys can make threes, this GCU team is really special. They got out and, they did some stuff in transition. That was really fun. And I just thought they took good, confident shots. And we're going to talk about some guys a little bit later here, but they're having some guys step up as well. That's kind of going a long way. Just this offense it can be finicky. We've talked about how low the floor is. And it's almost like with this team, it's almost a puzzle. Like everyone's kind of got to fit into their spot. Like Nana's got to be that stretch 4. And he doesn't have to go, scorched earth, but can he make 1, maybe 2 threes, right? That changes things. Can FA be a presence down low, and can they get him a few touches a game where he can just kind of go to work down there? That happened. Can Jaden Henley provide some of that instant offense? That happened. Can Mekhi play off him? and when maybe they're helping a little bit too much on Jaden, Makai can punish them. And then Brian Moore Jr. can come in. Like all those pieces fit when guys start playing well. But fortunately, when one or two of them kind of sputter out a little bit, everything kind of feels off. But tonight was one of those really special nights. They looked really good. It stalled in the second half at times, as I mentioned. But the bottom line is they get the win, and they're kind of on to the next. So plenty to improve on, but they go 25 for 47 from the field. And I just thought they looked a lot better. Still 13 turnovers to 11 assists. That kind of, again, is another thing that'll need to improve. That was a massive problem in the first game. I think some of those things they can clean up, though. Third takeaway. Guys, I know he had 30 points. He played 38 minutes, so credit to Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn. I weirdly thought GCU did a lot better job on him than the first game, even though he had more points and shot better and played better. But I just thought they were more physical. They fought harder on him. They made life hard. Obviously, you see that Evan kind of 4.5 minute spurt. He comes in, and his one job is like just make his life hell. That's the only thing you got to do is just stick to DGL. The second you check in the game, and then we'll check you out of the game, and you're good. Like that's your only job. And that was a fun little piece, I think, for Bryce to kind of deploy there. Evan was awesome. And then I thought the other guys played really physical and were tough. Again, he made shots. They lost on those first 2 threes. It is kind of inexcusable, especially early on when you've got UNLV down, to lose him like that. I know that's really tough and picky to say, like, hey, you can't, but they don't have any other guys. And so I thought they missed the mark a few times by over helping on other players that are just, quite frankly, not a threat and leaving him. I understand in a standard kind of defense, I guess you're saying, oh, I need to go help here, but I thought they did let him get a little loose. There was one in the second half, first half, where they got behind a guy and they're rotating. And the last guy was DGL. And the bottom line is when the ball got to the second to last guy, who ended up passing it to DGL for the wide open three, it's a kind of KYP situation. This is just my opinion. You need to leave that guy and close out and take away the pass. Like, you cannot let him get the ball to DGL in the corner for a wide open three. Like, if it's any other guy out there, knock yourself out, take it. If it's Williamson, even Fleming, like, you got to force him to make a three, but they gave up the wide open three to DGL. So I thought they lost him a few times. The first 2 threes were hilarious. On that first wide open one to start the game that got UNLV on the board, I think he might have had 3, potentially 4 players closing out on him. It was the, oh, no. We were told not to leave him, and we did. And 3 GCU players closed out on him. But credit to DGL. He made tough shots all night. But I did think GCU at least, like, they gave him different looks. They were physical. They didn't just let him dictate the game. And, there's not much you can do when a player makes shots like that. So credit to DGL. He was really awesome tonight. But I thought the Lopes at least gave an effort on him, and maybe don't lose them as many times as they did, but only so much you can do in the game of college basketball. And then finally, guys, I got my final takeaway here is just Brian Moore is doing stuff. Yes, he had 4 turnovers tonight, guys. I get it. He had 4 turnovers, not good. Cannot have that at all. But it's just the timely things with him. And we got to think of the timing of this going to Utah State. Brian Moore is awesome against Utah State at home. If you remember that stretch, that was pre-injury as well, pre that hamstring injury for him. And tonight, it's just the little things, right? He turns the ball over. It was a really bad turnover at half court. They're 6 seconds into the shot clock. That's it. And of course, he gets down there and takes the charge. And it was a hard charge. It was one that if you're a basketball player, like, do I really got to take this? Like, I really do not want to take this. He just stepped right in there without a doubt, took the charge. GC gets the ball back. He kind of avenges that turnover. He had the timely corner 3 in the second half. You remember DGL, I mentioned it, but he hits that 3 to cut it to 6. GC Arena's getting quiet. It's getting weird. And he just comes down and he's so calm and collected, 28 feet from the basket, 29 feet from the basket, and he just blows by his guy, reverse layup and 1. It's just timely with him. He is an X factor. Like, when Brian Moore Jr. is being aggressive, getting into the paint, I think we've talked about him potentially being passive at times earlier in the season, trying to figure out that role. When he's aggressive, this is a different GCU basketball team. And I want to shout Brian Moore Jr. out tonight. 5 of 7 from the field. Again, he only needs 7 shots to score 17 points. That's pretty insane when you think about it. 6 of 7 from the line, 1 of 3 from 3, 2 rebounds and 2 assists. You got to keep in mind too, he was most of the game chasing around DGL. So really good game for Brian Moore Jr. And he's just an X factor. Like when he's special, he just brings something different to the court that, quite frankly, nobody else on this GCU team can. And so, yeah, I just think we're seeing kind of those veteran timely plays from Brian Moore Jr. And that is absolutely a situation to monitor, I think, if you're a Lopes fan down the stretch here. So, guys, that's it. That's it for the UNLV game. 80-67, GCU gets it done. Yeah, just a much needed win, I think, if you're the Lopes. And yeah, I just love the way that they came out and played. Bryce talked about it, how kind of proud he was of the guys, and I guess I get, you could go back and say, well, maybe he doesn't need to be proud if they just show up on Saturday. So we're not going to exactly, king them for, showing up and playing, because that's how this, that's kind of what they're supposed to do. I get it. But the reality is that's a situation they faced, and they did kind of bounce back. So yeah, GCU goes to 11-6. They're tied with Nevada in the standings, a game behind New Mexico at 12-5. Though the problem is New Mexico does have the tiebreaker. San Diego State 13-4, tied with Utah State. So they are going to be split up top, which is fascinating because they also split their regular season series. So those New Mexico games are going to be big down the stretch. Yeah, really fascinating game last night to see SDSU blow out Utah State in San Diego. And that's our perfect transition. Let's get into that Utah State game that's going to be happening this Saturday in Logan, the revenge game, 8 p.m. We remember how crazy the last game was, the 12 p.m. start, raucous crowd, some off-court shenanigans. It was just a good old kind of college basketball game, guys. And GCU got the win, handled business, kind of controlled that game for the most part. They looked really good. And we're going to go through a few points as we've talked about these return games. What did we learn the first time? Just to kind of take us back to that first game, remember what happened, and then I've got 2 keys to the game on Saturday. So let's get into what we learned the first time around when GCU hosted Utah State. And my first point is that GCU can play with the Mountain West best. That's just my big point. I think, maybe coming into the season, we had an idea it was possible. Maybe they could snag a team on a weird night. To me, guys, I think GCU, when they're playing their best, they're up there with the best in the Mountain West. An 84-74 win in Phoenix. And again, was pretty convincing. I thought they played really good basketball. And just a reminder that when this team is at their best, they can compete with anyone. And I think that's why, if you were to listen to my show Saturday, there's a world where you're going to say, Brennan, you were too harsh. You're too hard. College basketball is a brutal sport. But I think that's where that comes from, is like, no, guys, this group is as good as some of those teams at the top. The problem is you just can't do what you did Saturday. And so I think that's why I was a little bit harsh, is because the reality is their best is as good as anybody's best in this league. And I think that's a big takeaway and a reminder as we get ready for Saturday. GCU is going to be dogs. I would expect them to be in the 7.5 range, maybe 8.5 range on Saturday, depending on kind of what Vegas thinks of this Utah State team and what Falsev's got going on with his leg. But GCU, when they're at their best, can compete in the Mountain West. That's my big takeaway from game one. Second is the travel and logistics. Getting a late Wednesday night game at a 12:30 game on Saturday is just brutal. Utah State looks sluggish. If you remember, they played a late one Wednesday night, had to get to GCU Arena for Saturday. Not an excuse for Utah State, but it is a reality. And, I say that because if GCU had that schedule, that'd be kind of a little mind-boggling. Like I'd have to bring it up and say that's an important factor into the game. Bottom line is both teams played games Wednesday night. GCU's was a little bit earlier, but Utah State tipped at 9 p.m. Local time in San Diego, and that game went forever. They've got to travel back home. It's just, this stuff matters. So I think that's something to keep an eye on, is what sort of juice does Utah State have coming out of the gate on Saturday? And I think it's worth mentioning the Lopes. Like, they played Wednesday, they got to play Saturday, they're on the road. What sort of juice do both of those teams have coming out of the gate? We'll get an idea of that really by the first media timeout on Saturday. Third is the Lopes took away Utah State's bigs. Part of this is just, I mentioned the Nana jail. Like, it just comes with the territory. This is what he's good at. He did it to Templin, made life really hard for him. Taking out multiple forwards in conference play, multiple kind of bigs. And we saw it. I asked Bryce about it, but you saw the rotation of bigs and what they bring to the table against UNLV. You've got Dennis with the just what the heck is going on here, total unicorn, crazy arms, can block shots, can impact things down low. Again, he's not going to be down there banging. And you see, even sometimes when he catches that ball, if it's not an alley-oop, he kind of panics. And so that'll come with time. But on the defensive end, you can see how special he is, and you get why he can make an impact. He did that in the Utah State game. That was kind of his coming out party there. We've seen teams take it into his chest, and he's struggled quite a bit. We'll see if Utah State kind of adjusts to that. But I think that's just one thing to call out here is Utah State, their bigs struggled last game, and I think GCU has the personnel for it. We mentioned Dennis. FA, when he's playing strong, he's playing, really good basketball down there. He's just a straight up force. He's 7'1". He's not weak. He's strong, and he's an absolute handful. And then you've got Nana, who's this smart, intelligent. Yeah, he's only 6'8", 6'9", but he's strong. He's a workhorse. He's got such a strong kind of base, and it makes life really hard. When you look at a guy like a Dennis, imagine like a Dennis going up against Nana. You got Nana, this strong base, and yeah, Dennis is tall, but Nana can kind of win it down low, right? So all three of those guys, when they mix together and it looks good, you saw it against UNLV, they can be a really special trio. And I think, GCU has the massive advantage there with the bigs. Fourth point was Falsev. Falsev was awesome. In that first game, took some shots in garbage time that hurt his efficiency. I think he ended up 8 of 21. I don't know what's happening with his Mountain West Player of the Year debate right now. It's a little bit of a mess, especially after that blowout last night for Utah State. But he's a special player. He was really good in game one, but we have to keep an eye on this, guys. He banged his leg against Nevada. He's wearing a leg sleeve against SDSU. I watched a little bit of it. He didn't. I don't know if it was that. He was fine, but I think that's something to keep an eye on. Where is he at? This conference season is long. The travel, the night in, night out grind. San Diego State's tough. They're physical. He's coming off of that. The travel, as we just mentioned, with the late night game. Something to keep an eye on is where is Falsev at right now? The conference season will chew you up and spit you out. Does he have, he's going to be returning home, though. They're going to get the juice from the crowd. Where is he at right now? And just, he was awesome in that first game. That was a takeaway, just flat out. Special player, kind of put Utah State on his back for the most part in that first game. We'll see if any of his teammates help him out. But situation to monitor is keeping an eye on Falsev, his energy level, and kind of where he is at during the game. Fifth is the environment. Round one was really good at GCU Arena. We obviously saw that. We all witnessed it. It was fantastic. Like I mentioned, there were some off-court shenanigans. I expect Logan to be an absolute madhouse Saturday. And here's the thing, guys. Yeah, it depends on how you want to look at this. If you're just like a homer, and you're going to say oh, that place sucks. To me, that's just super lame. Guys, that's an awesome college basketball environment. Come on. This is an awesome college basketball environment, and if you are a fan of the team, you should want your team to be playing in those opportunities and in those moments and be getting tested in those games. National TV, the crowd's going to be insane, going to be raucous, going to be, it might get a little weird at times. Hopefully, nothing bad happens. I don't expect anything bad to happen, by the way, so I don't want to, try to fan any flames there, but it's going to be a madhouse. And if you're a college basketball fan, Saturday is what this is all about. I don't want to sit here and do the thing, oh, it's not that good. We're going to reply to a bunch of those accounts online. Utah State, guys, just appreciate it. Utah State has an awesome atmosphere, one of the best in the country, in my opinion. GCU gets to go in there and try to spoil their Saturday, spoil some of their maybe at-large dreams if stuff starts building up here for Utah State. They get an opportunity to get a win. So my takeaway was just how good the environment was at GCU Arena and knowing that that's going to be a factor in Saturday's game. And again, it's just perspective, guys. Sitting there and being like, oh, I hate when people, try to say that's the best. It's guys, just appreciate it. It's an awesome opportunity for this team to go in there, get a win in a crazy environment and be tested. And we're going to see them try to come out on the other side. And guys, you should want it as crazy as possible because if GCU gets the win, guys, that's just further proof that, the team's really special. So looking forward to the environment on Saturday. I'm sure it's going to be great on TV. That San Diego State at Utah State game was really good on CBS. So hopefully FS1 is able to capture some of that as well. Two keys to the game, guys, and we're going to be out of here. First is taking care of the ball and making Utah State pay when they gamble. GCU with 13 turnovers tonight. They had the turnovers against Wyoming. Utah State generates those turnovers. They're 12th in the nation in steals, and that's for a reason. Obviously, Falsev's a big part of that. But I've watched them a few times this year, guys. One, they press. And two, they do gamble a little bit. Now, here's kind of my rules of thumb for some of those things. If a team's going to press you and if a team's going to gamble, sometimes teams, when you get pressed and you kind of have those opportunities, there's a little bit of timidness. There's a just get through this storm and get the ball over half court and then take a deep breath, because there's a level of chaos happening on the court, right? That's the natural human instinct and kind of basketball instinct. Here's what I want to see from this GCU team is don't just beat the press, get the ball over half court, take a deep breath, and it's 17 left in the shot clock, and we're going to try to point everyone to their positions, and then it's 13 in the shot clock, and now let's run something. They need to make Utah State pay. If they're going to press, now some of that press, they do kind of just get back, and it's just to drain some of the shot clock, but sometimes they do straight up press. GCU needs to make them pay if they're going to press. Don't just beat the press. Make the press pay. Get down. If you've got a 4-on-3, you have got to score on that. Get them out of the press. Make them sit back. Make them be on their heels. They're going to try to put GCU on their heels with the press and with trying to gamble. They have got to make Utah State pay. I do not want to see them just passively, try to get through some of that and then hang out, take their time and try to get stuff in the half court. They need to get out, make them pay when they gamble. Falsev's going to go for a ton of steals. The second you have a 4-on-3, they need to go, especially with this offense. We've seen what happens when they get kind of stuck in the half court. Falsev's going to make a move for a few steals. Drake Allen's going to do the same, and Collins. All those guys on the perimeter. Elamine's going to try to do the same thing. They need to make Utah State pay. That's how you get cheap baskets, easy offense. That's how you make them stay at home and not let them gamble each possession. I do not want to see GCU go up there into an environment like that and be passive. It will swallow them up, chew them up, and spit them out. They need to make Utah State pay when they press or when they try to gamble and go for steals. That's point one. Second is, how about some extra possessions for the Lopes? Guys, Utah State, they're good across the board in nearly every category. Last time, we did a preview for this game. We listed off all the categories our top 25 in. But, guys, they're not the best defensive rebounding team. Somewhere around a 260th, 270th in the nation. And I think this is an opportunity. We mentioned GCU's front line with Nana and Dennis and FA and just kind of the bigs. Even Wilhelm can come off the bench. And can they just go get some offensive rebounds? Tonight against UNLV, they did have 7, and FA had 3. I was shocked. I thought Nana had more. He only had 1. But you look at those guys, and I'm wondering, can they just go get some extra possessions? And can they, you got to go into their arena. It's going to be a tough environment. And that's how you start to take some of the crowd out of the game, right? Is if you're able to extend possessions, get extra possessions, extra looks. Same thing applies to point one. When you get that offensive rebound, you're going to be in an advantageous situation. It's going to be maybe a 4-on-3. One guy might be leaking. You're going to have an opportunity to score. I want to see GCU make Utah State pay when they get some offensive rebounds, try to score, take those open threes when they happen, whatever it is. They need to make Utah State pay. And so I'm looking to see if they can get some extra possessions that way. Utah State, an incredibly efficient, really good offense. They struggled against SDSU, but I'd expect them to bounce back. It's a talented group. And so can GCU get some extra possessions to kind of even things out there? So that's what I'm keeping an eye on. My two kind of big keys to the game for Saturday. Guys, I know I tend to be a romantic about this stuff, but like this is as good as it gets. It's late February. It's almost March. We've got seeding implications everywhere in the Mountain West. Chaos has absolutely unfolded. The environment's going to be awesome on Saturday. It's going to be incredible, guys. Let's not be trying to take stuff away from the Utah State fans. That's an awesome environment, awesome arena, and GCU gets the opportunity to go in there and try to sneak out a win, and I think that's great. GCU's had some surprising road wins. They've kind of come out of nowhere and just, snatched a victory and got the heck out of there. We'll see if they can do that on Saturday. Really tough game ahead for them. We'll keep an eye on the injury situation for Utah State. GCU, we don't expect anything different. Caleb Shaw still be out putting up some shots, though, during the game. If we before the game, if you saw that, moving around, not running, but just walking, putting up shots, that's a good sign. But yeah, guys, we'll see you Saturday, 8 p.m. local. Game is on FS1. And, man, this one's going to be special. So cheers, guys. We'll see you there.